Hey, game changers. Listen, thanks for tuning in because here's what I know is happening. You right now are pushing to get those last couple projects at work over the goal line, across the finish line. Well, by the way, you got all kinds of stuff coming at you one after another as you prepare for the most wonderful time of year. The most wonderful time of year. Or is it? Right? Or is it? You might be listening to this going, wonderful time of year? What? Or is it? Right? Because here's the deal. This is what I found to be kind of interesting as I prepared for this, which is that a study by the American Psychological Association, check this out, it reveals that stress actually increases around the holidays, with 41% of people feeling more stressed between November and January. Now, that's probably not some kind of an earth-shattering, surprising stat, but when you pull back and think about all of the usual stressors that show up kind of around this time, right? Like the overpacked schedules, both personally and professionally, a lot more financial outflows, right? In your world, potentially finding that perfect gift for the, person that's hard to buy for, or for a friend, or for your husband, or your wife, or your children, your parents. For some, you're missing family. You're missing loved ones. And the decorations, the wrapping, it's a lot. It's a little bit insane, right? At some level, it's coming at you pretty quickly. And every corner you sort of turn, both at work and at home, there's another project or sort of task. And the season is absolutely 1,000% full of joy. If you're listening right now, full of joy, full of blessings, but it's also packed, right? It's packed with pressure, with expectations. And maybe, not surprisingly though, the majority of people actually feel relieved when the holidays are over. And, I wish I could tell you that my research uncovered a different story. I really do. I wish I could, that most people felt fulfilled, connected, or energized by this season of time with and around the people in your life who matter most. But here's the reality, right? A similar study by the American Heart Association found that 71% of people said that their biggest regret after the holidays is that they did not take time to relax and enjoy the season. That's interesting, right? The biggest regret, it isn't that Santa didn't bring the perfect gift. It isn't that you missed the neighborhood cookie swap. It isn't that your elf on the shelf did not move again, which, by the way, is my historical story relative to the elf on the shelf. The number one regret is not slowing down enough to actually enjoy the season. And here's the thing I got to tell you. I have been there. I know at some level what it looks like to look back and realize that I was too busy, too stressed, too wrapped up at some level in the chaos to appreciate the moments that really matter. I don't know why I still remember this, but I so vividly remember my husband and I at midnight on Christmas Eve putting together this plastic tricycle for our daughters. And I can't put a Happy Meal together, let alone a tricycle. Just saying. But, it still might go down as one of the biggest arguments we've ever gotten, because it was just, it's midnight the night before. It was just sadly, which exemplifies the ridiculous amount of over-indexed angst around putting a tricycle together and the disconnect that it created in a moment that is the most wonderful time of year. I remember when our girls were 15 and, now they're 20, and 21. But I remember when they were 15, 16. And, I think I remember getting all the things together in our basement to kind of get the stocking stuffer stuff. Or the best was when our girls were like 15, 15, and 16. And I had forgotten all the stocking stuff, right? Like all of it. Like nothing, I had not thought about that. And trust me, I went to the other prizes and thought, well, what's small enough that I could throw in? And I did a couple of those things. But here's the thing. I literally remember it was like 11 at night, feeling like I was just not failing as Mrs. Claus. And I remember walking around the house, literally picking up bars of soap, toothpaste, and yes, tampons, and stuffing those in the stockings, which you can imagine went over great when they woke up and ran to see what Santa left in the stockings, only to find some tampons. And I even had them kind of coming out of the top, right, just to kind of give it a little cool. I just owned it. I mean, just full on. It's like you kind of want to just wrap yourself up and put a bow on and go back into the storage closet till the next year sometimes, right? Don't you? So it is. It's the most wonderful full time of year. So considering all that, considering the stat, considering what I know many of you have your own stories, let's try this. Let's try this year. Mentally fast forward to after the holidays. You know, the guests have left. The decorations are packed away. The work meetings are starting back up, right? The elf on the shelf is officially off duty. Thank goodness. The tree's down. The eggnog's gone. Like that is the moment that I want you to take yourself to. And then what I want you to do is just take a minute in this place. All you're seeing is red lights. Everybody's gone. Take a moment and reflect on how do you want to feel as you wrap up the season? How did you show up? Think about it, right? Like think about it physically, mentally, emotionally, relationally, spiritually. How did you show up? And here's what I want to encourage you to do. Write it down. Write down physically, mentally, emotionally, relationally, spiritually, how you showed up. If you, in fact, showed up, let's pretend, as the best version of yourself through the most wonderful time of year, physically, mentally, emotionally, relationally, and spiritually. In other words, think about all those sort of verticals, if you will, and then consider, how did you show up if you showed up as the best version of yourself? And so here's what I want you to consider. JOMO. 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 The joy of missing out. So instead of getting caught up in FOMO, right, the fear of missing out, embrace JOMO, the joy of choosing what matters most. See, by choosing to do less, guess what happens? You can transform a traditionally hectic time into one of clarity, into one of purpose. You can step into this season with intention, not just busyness. See, remember that saying no is saying yes to what matters. Saying no is saying yes to what matters. So consider this. Number one, saying no to one thing is saying yes to something that is more meaningful and thoughtful, potentially, to you and to the things that matter most to you. Number two, consider this. Saying no brings clarity to your priorities. Number three, consider this. Saying no can actually be a gift to those that are closest to you, allowing you to then be fully present for them. And consider this, number four, choose less and embrace the joy that comes with it. How about that? Choose less and embrace the joy that comes with it. See, shifting your mindset to JOMO, missing something, might mean you make more memory. It might just mean that. It might just mean yes to a little more sleep so you don't snap at your in-laws or your kids. It might just mean yes to a clearer, more present mind. It might just mean yes to the energy for the cards or the board game or the puzzle, not to a nap on the couch. It might just mean you're saying yes to a walk with your friends or your family or your children when the sun comes out. It might mean that you're saying yes to the workout that you've been skipping. See, it might just mean that you're saying yes to do all you can to step in to the new year more connected, more energized, and yes, more fulfilled. See, when you are presented with another activity to your calendar during the most wonderful time of year, here's what I want to challenge you to consider. Number one, look at what you wrote down for how you want to feel when the eggnog's gone, the elf on the shelf is back in the storage, everybody's gone back to their normal routines. Look back at how you want to feel physically, mentally, emotionally, relationally, spiritually. Look at that and then ask yourself, how will I feel after I say yes to this thing, opportunity, ask that's in front of me right now? How will I feel? Is it going to allow me to ladder up to the outcome that I've previously identified I actually want most? If I say no, what am I saying yes to instead? Consider that. When you are presented, which you will continue to be presented with, another activity to add to the already probably overscheduled, overdemanded set of things coming your way, do those three things. Number one, look at what you wrote down. How do you want to feel at the end of all of this? Physically, mentally, emotionally, relationally, look at what you wrote down. And then number two, ask yourself, how will I feel after I say yes to this? And if I say no, number three, if I say no, what am I saying yes to instead? See, when it's all over with, here's what I think we can all agree on. I think we can all agree on this. I think we can all agree that you want to feel more connected to who and what matters most to you. With this level of intentionality, embracing JOMO, going out to the optimal when it's all said and done, will then allow you to ensure that when you look back in that rearview mirror, you'll feel more connected to who and what matters most to you. Merry, Merry Christmas to all of you. And Happy New Year, my friends.